Welcome back to another episode. It is our grand final review show. I finally got that right. I always get them switched around and stuff it for myself. But a massive grand final day has been won and done by obviously the Newcastle Knights in the NRLW and the Penrith Panthers in the NRL. It was as a neutral, I absolutely loved both grand finals. I think we got absolutely spoiled as rugby league fans with what we got to witness on Sunday. Obviously, myself, Adam, Jez are back for the preview. We're just running through our thoughts. Sorry, I said preview again. Our review show. I don't know why I always have preview in my head. But anyway, we'll run through our thoughts of the grand final. Obviously, it is pretty much everyone's put it out by now, so we try not to go too long and just get our talking points out of the way and let you guys enjoy probably the off season, and we'll do a bit more of the player interview side of things in the off season and probably some just signings and stuff like that here and there whenever it comes up or any massive talking points. And as we said a few weeks ago, knowing it's the NRL and it's the rugby league, that'll probably be every week, so we'll see you weekly. But boys, what a grand final we did get to witness. Obviously, we start off with our performances of the weekend. I think it's obviously just the grand final. I just need to shout out to both players who won the individual awards on the day with Tamika Upton. I thought was absolutely sensational. And then basically Nathan Cleary exactly the same. It was great to see the two star players on that occasion on the day really step up. And what a season it's been for Tamika Upton. She's taken out the women's NRLW title as well. So absolutely phenomenal. I thought she was just absolutely freakish. Basically, when Newcastle needed her the most, she stepped up, and the same thing for Nathan Cleary, which we will talk about a bit more. Jez, got anything to add to your performances of the grand final?
I have a different one. Of course, Tamika Upton was the difference between the two teams, but we were so blessed with our two grand finals that we got to watch. The women's game was so physical, and it nearly exploded into a full-on fight with a couple of people coming together towards the end. There is that Billy, not Billy Slater, Sonny Bill Williams' sister. That I think was
I think cousin.
Cousin, is it? Oh, okay, some sort of relation. And the commentator's like, does she know who she is? Like, she's picking on someone here. She's going to get her teeth knocked in. Jasmine Strange going for it. But my player of the match for the women's was Sheridan Gallagher. She got a one-on-one strip, which turned the game. So the Knights were on the back foot for quite a bit there. She got that one-on-one. And yeah, well, the commentators also commented on that too, Michael. She got that one-on-one strip, and it completely changed momentum. We scored off the back of that, and then the Knights went on to put on a few more points. So she was she stepped up in that big moment, and it was really cool. And then again in the men's game, what a physical game of rugby league we got to watch. They were bashing each other, and then I think the Broncos they're going to lose sleep over that for the next couple of months. They had that locked in, and then they just forgot that Nathan Cleary is pretty freaking good. And then I think he even remembered, and that 20 minutes that he played was amazing. So that's, yeah, we were blessed. The footy gods shined upon us this weekend.
Yes, we were. Adam, you can unmute yourself now, and your thoughts on your performances of the grand final.
Yeah, sorry guys. It's currently dealing with the effects of daylight savings and children going to sleep. So one is currently, say, singing/crying himself to sleep. Look, first of all, I just want to say, how did the Broncos lose that one? As the famous Christian Welsh would say, I don't know how they lost that one, but I've got a lot more thoughts about that game and a lot more things to say. But look, let's go to the performance of the week first. Honorable mention to Jamie Chapman. I thought she was incredible in the losing team. If the Titans won that game, she obviously got Women's Player of the Match, whatever they call that award. I don't know what they call that award. What do they call it?
Karen Murphy medal.
Karen Murphy, yeah. Ironically, the Gold Coast coach, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was so good.
She was filthy handing out that award, wasn't she? Oh, that was the biggest sour face I've ever seen in my life. But look, obviously it went to Tamika. She obviously had a pretty good game there for the Knights and pretty much won the game on her own back. So for obviously the men's game, honorable mention to Man as well. Obviously, I mean, what we have him was into $1.03 there when they were ahead by 16.
$1, I'm pretty sure.
$1 when he got his hat trick.
Yeah.
I love watching the Clive Churchill live betting. It really indicates who obviously it's going to go to. For those playing at home, when Man was $1.01, Cleary was $51,
51.
and Cleary coming to 26 after setting up. Try coming to 17 after kicking the 40-20, and then he was about 13. And then when he scored that last try, obviously, betting was suspended. So if anyone was a live betting and watching like I was, obviously we've got some pretty odds. But look, I thought Cleary was superb. Honourable mentions to Leota and to Crichton.
Yep. No, I agree with that one. Let's go back on view. Let's quickly let's go over the grand final. Obviously, some big moments for both sides. I thought the first half, I said it when Broncos scored right on the buzzer, basically with Flegler. I thought that was huge. I thought here come the Broncos. That's exactly what they needed, because it was almost Penrith the whole half, and it was just Broncos withstanding everything that was thrown at them. It was actually quite remarkable to watch with the amount of ball and the pressure that Penrith were putting them under. But they did enough, the Broncos. And as you said, Jez, it's just one of those games where you just look at it, and we'll talk about the Broncos side of things first. How did they lose it? Like, it's just nuts to sit back. I said I was waking up Monday morning just thinking, Penrith absolutely stole that one. How the hell did they end up winning that? Because I don't want to heap too much criticism on individual players, but for the Broncos, the player they needed to step up the most in that last 20 minutes, and it's why they signed him, was Adam Reynolds. And I thought, in a way, he didn't go missing necessarily, but his kicking game, especially, which is what he's known for, which is what has got Broncos out of so much trouble in the past, just let him down and let the team down. I thought, as I said, when he needed it the most, Nathan Cleary, basically, they gave him one little sniff, got his confidence up, and off he went. But Jez, the Broncos, as you said, it's one head that I don't know how they've lost it, but they were so good for a lot of, to keep themselves in that game. To lose it that way would have hurt.
Well, when we were watching, we were just seeing how easily the Broncos were going over, and then Ezra Mann can you still be Clive Churchill in a losing team? Because he put a pretty good case towards that. His individual efforts, he's backing up off the ruck. Like Reece Walsh finally got involved. But if you have a look at the run meters in comparison, so Dylan Edwards was like 300 odd meters, and Reece Walsh was nowhere near that. So you can just kind of see how many times the fullback got involved. And I know they play a different style, but you're right. When Cleary stepped up, that's what you would expect from your halfback. And with Adam Reynolds and his experience, I think his confidence was rocked from those dreaded short dropouts that Adam loves so much. That was pretty big. Yeah, it was under 100 meters. So you're right. I don't know. It was lost in the middle of the park as well, I feel, in that last 20. Fatigue kind of set in. A lot of the Broncos' key players just kind of set back and let the line meet them, where throughout most of that game when they were on top, they were really meeting that ball, but they got a little bit lazy. They got a bit comfortable, and the Panthers just do what they do best. They hung around and waited for that key moment. And cometh the man, cometh the hour, Cleary.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to put too much pressure on him or anything, because I did think Walsh did have some good moments in the game, but I think defensively he was caught out quite a bit, especially with the Crichton try. I thought Crichton's one, it was a really soft effort for the time of the game and what was needed. I don't think there's a few fullbacks in the competition, I don't want to name at the moment, that would have done a lot better in that situation. I thought it was a tackle that could have been made by I just probably got the little one in the room, so he's off. But yeah, I just thought it was a tackle that should have been made by a fullback that we've seen in a couple of our teams this year, and it just wasn't unfortunately made. And it was a massive turning point. Obviously, they just kept growing in legs after legs, the Penrith Panthers, and it was just a juggernaut in the end, and just too good for the Brisbane Broncos. Just for the Brisbane Broncos, I just want to shout out to some of their big players who have stepped up. I thought Ezra Mam, obviously, a hat trick was massive on the night. So he literally had everything bar one pinky on the Clive Churchill medal and missed out. He couldn't have done anything more. I thought his performance, if it wasn't for Nathan Cleary, would have gone down in history. It's one of the better performances we've seen at a grand final. Let's talk about Payne Haas, who I thought kept the Broncos in the game, especially just taking a lot of his tough runs, which we haven't seen much of. But I thought a special shout out to Payne Haas overall, because I think his year, with the pressure that he's had with the off-season stuff and the outside of the football world things going on in his life, I think he's been phenomenal this year. I think he just needs a special credit about just how he's played. And I think we've seen Payne Haas in the past probably would have just fallen off a cliff with what's going on, and understandably so, but he's really matured this year, and he really is one of the best prop forwards in the game we have, and lucky to watch him. And as Mika said, Jesse Arthurs, I thought was insane on Sunday night at the grand final. His carries were phenomenal, and just he'd started him off so well. And there was a lot of controversy over Corey Oates not getting picked over Jesse Arthurs, but geez, they proved Kevin Walters right there. And any other Broncos players you want to have a quick shout out to, Jez?
I thought Billy Walters started the game really strongly as well. Obviously, he got that 40-20, which got them into some really nice field position. I thought his service was dummy half was really nice as well. But Payne Haas, he's earned, like, you're struggling to find faults within his game at the moment. Like, he's all effort, he's all bumper bars, he's just moving people out of the way. His runs were so effective. He again was another real standout in a losing side. Back on Ezra Mam, 0 errors. So I just had a look at the stats. He didn't have an error. So again, he's just putting a good case towards winning that Clive Churchill in a losing team. But I think where Reece Walsh needs to reflect on this game and mature a little bit is being in the right position. So he was out of position a few times, especially in those short attacking spurts that they put in. When Cleary just danced through the line, he was nowhere to be found, and a lot of his tackles were quite ineffective. So if he wants to be that player that we all know that he can be, he's really got to reflect on this game. I don't doubt that the Broncos won't be there again this time next year. If they can keep that sort of similar squad together, they can keep playing the football that they were. They had a really great year. They just, for the last 20 minutes of the grand final, they just weren't there. But no, definitely, I quite enjoyed Billy Walters out of dummy half.
Yep. Adam, if you're there, quickly get off mute and have a say. I'm not sure if your camera's just broken or you might be off dealing with little ones. So all good there.
You'll get there. I know your little one's not quite up to that stage
Queensland.
yet, but it rocks you.
We're in the smart
Queensland.
State. We don't change anything up here. We're good. There he is.
Kids, eh?
You're all right, mate. Yeah. What about your thoughts on the Broncos, please?
How'd the Broncos lose that one? I don't know what I missed, but look, I put it pretty simply.
I was giving their individual raps.
I'm not giving individual raps. I'm giving how they lost the game. I don't know if I missed that, but just the defense they had to do in that first probably 20-minute period really had an effect on them. As I kind of said, Giz, in the pre-game preview, Joel, the preview of the game, it's where you say what's going to happen. Yeah. I said, they'll have to go with the Panthers for the first 20 minutes and stick with them. Obviously, they had to do a lot of defence in that, and then obviously they kicked away from it just after half time, but Penrith had the class to get on. But you could see the fatigue at the end of the game. The last thing Brisbane needed was to have to defend their line in the last 10, 15 minutes, and that's what they had to do. Through some Cleary brilliance, obviously, with the 40-20s and a couple of stupid shit dropouts. Let's obviously not miss the fact that now Jeremy's gone with his camera. Let's not miss the fact that they lost the game in the end due to a stupid short dropout. So that obviously, they got 8 points off them, but 8 points off short dropouts, which meant they lost the game by 2 points. So, obviously, pretty frustrating way to lose a grand final. Look, Brisbane, I think they're going to be thereabouts for a while. Reynolds getting on. Obviously, they bring another halfback through as well. It'll be interesting how they do that. I think Walsh will eventually transition into a 5'8", eventually, so maybe Mann can play 7. There's no doubt about that, but I don't know. It's interesting. I know I've obviously got a bit more to talk about, but Sportsbet obviously release the odds for next year. Would you like me to run through them?
Give us the top 6. Give us top 6.
Well, I'll give you the top 9 because you're going to be very intrigued by it. Let me get it up again. Hang on.
I'll go out and say this much already. I reckon the Dolphins are in the top 5.
I reckon you're totally wrong. Do you want to have a wild guess, Jeremy?
Top 5.
Ooh. And just give me a bold statement about this, the favourites next year or where teams are ranked.
Newcastle, top 4.
Incorrect. Look, what this shows is obviously the draw's got to come out yet, and there'll be a lot of changes based on that. But it shows how rough the draw was for some teams this year. We'll say that Penrith the favourites at $3.75, Brisbane at $4.50, Melbourne, which I find interesting. I know I've been saying this for a while, but I see Melbourne obviously dropping Melbourne at $9. South Sydney at $9, the Roosters at $10, the Cowboys, who missed the finals, are at $15, Cronulla at 21. I think Cronulla should be 31 because I don't see Cronulla actually winning a comp anytime soon. Parramatta back to 21, which to me makes sense given the draw this year and the good preseason there. I think they should be a little bit shorter. The Warriors at 23, Newcastle at 26, Manly at 31, Canterbury at 46, Gold Coast 51, Canberra 61. So Canberra obviously played finals football. This, $61. Dolphins at 61, St George at 101, the West Tigers 101. There you go.
Wow, that's interesting.
Well, it's interesting. You've got two teams obviously in the top 8 there in Parramatta and the Cowboys that didn't make the 8 ahead of teams like the Warriors who finished 3rd. They finished 4th in the end, sorry.
And the Warriors are stronger next year.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
We've got Roger Tuivasa-Sheck back. But like I said, it comes down to draws. And I guess the effect of Parramatta and the Cowboys as they missed out on the 8, obviously bumping up to favouritism, a bit more favouritism there is the fact that they should get an easier draw next year. It's one of the things I like to watch. I like to watch Clive Church. I like to watch this because this will fluctuate a million times between now and when the actual comp starts, given draws and signings and preseason injuries and trials and stuff. But it's always an interesting thing to watch. I think Penrith at $3.75. I think they should be shorter, to be honest. I know it's very hard to win 3 comps, or maybe 4, but like,
can you imagine?
I don't see besides Brisbane, who proved it. Yeah, have we spoken about Penrith yet? I missed a bit. Can I?
We're going on. We're getting on to Penrith now. Again. You started. Right. You've just got into TAB odds, mate.
Well, I have. Gamble responsibly. You win some, you lose most. Odds are you're about to lose.
Odds are you're about to lose, yeah.
Look, I know you obviously I know it's one of our talking points later. I'm going to bring it up now as we can segue into Penrith with that. Do Penrith need Cleary? I don't think Cleary is the person to be blaming.
Need Cleary. They need Cleary for sure.
Cleary, sorry. Luai, sorry. It's been a long weekend.
Daylight savings.
I don't think it's Luai they don't need. I think it's Yeo they don't need. We saw Nathan Cleary's best football with Isaiah Yeo off the field with that HIA. Cleary's at first receiver. He was playing as a dominant half without this, lock or forward. I know Parramatta use the same thing with Mitchell Moses, and a lot of teams do, but without him obviously getting in and playing first receiver. Cleary's been often criticised as being a big game choker, can't perform at Origin, can't perform in grand finals, and look, even last year's grand final, I thought he was pretty quiet. Like, he hasn't really stood up. This was his best game. It's probably his best game of his career, the way he stood up. I don't think it's any coincidence that Yeo was off the field. You take Yeo out of Origin. Let's look at Origin. Yeo's always played Origin as well. You take him away from Cleary, and Cleary all of a sudden at first receiver was one of the most dangerous halfbacks I've ever seen in that game, the way he was controlling things. So
it's just old school, isn't it? Like, just get the ball into the halves' hands.
100%. Your most dangerous ball player.
Yeah.
And it's simple stuff. But if I was Penrith, and we all know they're going to have to lose someone, they've obviously already lost Crichton. They've re-signed Edwards, so it could be Luai going to go. I'd be keeping Luai and then go to Yeo. Simple. So, yeah, anyway. Are you talking about...
I think you make a point.
I make excellent points. I spit facts.
Yeah. Look, it is a talking point. We will get to the Luai side of things. I just want to talk about Penrith, obviously, and just how good they are. It hurts me to say. I've got to be honest. I said on Sunday I'm actually over the Penrith dynasty, but you've got to also applaud how good they actually are, and just they were literally on the canvas. The referee was about to count to 10, and it's like they just got up and was able to just make it happen. And it was just remarkable. Like, Nathan Cleary is an absolute freak. Like, he has now stood up and shown, like, we've all been quite critical in the past of him saying he needs to do it in the big stage, in the big games. And it was literally all him. Like, it wasn't any other player in that last 15 minutes. Like, you couldn't even say Edwards stood up or anything like that. It was literally just Nathan Cleary. Everything came off Nathan Cleary. The 40-20, the setup for Leota, the try. Like, we did our finals Dally M points, and he won in a canter because all final series, every time Penrith have played, he's almost scored maximum points with it because he's just been that good. Like, it's remarkable how good he's been this final series. And it's interesting what you say, Adam, with the players that were off at the time where he did stand up. Did it come into the equation? Was it just convenient timing because they just needed to, it forced Cleary's hand? Because what I liked most about Nathan Cleary's performance was the fact that before this last 20 minutes, you would have given him probably a 3 out of 10. He was horrible all night. He didn't do much at all. But the fact that he was able to pick himself up and go, all right, let's get this done and let's win this game. Most players, past, present, can't do that. If they're having a bad game, then they just call into a hole and say, please, let's just end this game. See you later. Nathan Cleary took it upon himself to go, you know what, I need to get my team out of this. And he did so. Yeah, he missed the tackles on Mam. His defense was a bit suspect a lot of the time there, but he got it done. Like, I reckon Ivan will go to him, mate, miss as many tackles as you want if you're going to get it back with tries. So it was just a remarkable performance. And I just think Penrith overall are just a phenomenal team. You just got to give them credit. Jez?
I think it just proves what Adam said when Yo was getting out of the way. And I kind of touched on it, that when you have a genuine ball player, give him the ball. Like, Cleary he's the best halfback in the game. We've been saying this for quite a while. And now the conversation's coming up. That 20 minutes that he played turned the game like directly into the Penrith favour. But if he can continue to do that, if he can continue to step up in those big games and even like do that in the Origin arena, then there's no doubt that you're having the conversations around, is he the best player of all time? The way that he played, like, it seemed like there was no one else on the field. It seemed like that there was no one else that really mattered. Nathan Cleary won that game on his own. And it was funny, his dad, quite intoxicated the next day on the Today Show, talking about it and saying, you know, if I'd married someone else, you'd be pretty terrible. But then he rounded up to say, you know, like, he basically thanked him. Like, he got them out of that mess. He admitted that they were in a really tough spot, and a spot that he didn't even think that they could come back from. But then he was like, I can't think of a recent game in the last couple of years where I've seen somebody turn the game so effectively like Nathan Cleary did on Sunday. Like, I genuinely can't. It was great to watch.
Yeah. I'm just trying to read Mika's story while you're talking there. It's going for a
It's
while.
a whole
so,
novel. It's a nice story.
I'll just keep flicking to it when I can. But
can I make an interesting point before we get too deep?
I love it.
I'm all for fun facts. So in 2022, the Arthurs took on the Clearys. In 2023, I can't even remember.
Clearys Walters.
The Walters took on the Clearys. St George fans, 2024. Book your grand final tickets. Get your accommodation sorted. It's the Flanagans versus the Clearys. It's the only one left, I think, isn't it? Is there anyone else?
Yeah, I think so. I think.
So be confident. It's happening. All right.
I'll say it before we get into the talk about what I want to talk about with Luai. I'll also say to New South Wales out there, if any management ever watch this video in the next few weeks, go to Ivan Cleary and just sign him up. I don't care what he has to do. Obviously, him and his son just have the combination down pat. He can work it out. Just make him New South Wales coach, and it'll solve all the issues for New South Wales. So,
well, with the new contracts, with what they're doing, it seems that that's the way they want it to go. They want it to be a club coach that steps in, because they're only offering like a couple of months worth of contracts. So, yeah, wouldn't be surprised.
That's where they're going to go. Ivan Cleary, he has to be it then. Like, I know that people are talking about Ricky Stewart, blah blah blah, but for mine, Ivan Cleary is clearly the best coach at the moment that is in the game. So just give it to him. He's got the assistant coaches that will help Penrith through that 6-week period, and I think it's an absolute no-brainer.
Before we get to the more serious stuff, I've got one more question to ask you guys.
Oh, here we go.
Greatest chokes of all time. Greatest chokes of all time. Was it the 2015 Broncos, the 2023 Broncos, or Paul Kent on his missus? Sorry, give credit to Michael Martin on that one. That was his. Promising what he is on the show.
Oh, mate, I'm glad we're getting into this.
I gave you credit. But let's get serious. Was it the 2015 Broncos or the 2023 Broncos?
I reckon this year.
Yeah, I'll go this year's. I think this year's. I think 16 points in a grand final is almost like 30 points. Like, it's just massive. And it was literally within one set. You seen them change from a team that was on fire, unstoppable, had all the confidence in the world, to then they literally were just letting Penrith do whatever they wanted. It was a remarkable turnaround, and yeah, it was like they seen a ghost, and they probably did. It was called Nathan Cleary, I guess. So, yeah, it has to be this year's.
Cool.
But at the same time, though, both sides were beaten by the best halfback at the time, so Thurston and then Cleary. So
imagine being up in the finals. Imagine being up in a finals game by 16 points and losing. I don't know who could do that. Poor Carriage.
All right, let's get to the serious stuff. I want to talk about Luai. And look, we've been quite critical. I have
Did he have to go to work today?
Luai, and yeah, well, he posted about it on Sunday. It was all a public holiday for everyone, so no one was going to work on Monday.
School holidays.
Let's be honest. Most Penrith fans don't actually go to work, so he's probably right.
Hang on, this is a late one. Adam's on fire
every second Thursday.
Yeah, every second Thursday. Yeah.
I want to make this point.
Some areas of Mount Druitt RSL the beneficiary of that on Fridays. Anyway, continue, Joel.
Sorry, Joel.
Sorry,
it's a late one.
Yeah, look. I know it's a late one, and it's one of the last ones of the year. We should have had a drink in our hands while we did this one. Luai, look, I know Adam mentioned about the yo factor, and I think that is part of the problem as well. But I think it coincided with the fact that Luai almost didn't play the second half, and as soon as Cogger was on there, he sort of straightened the attack up a lot, helped Cleary play the way he wanted to play, and Penrith play the way they needed to play. And it's just made me question. Luai is obviously coming off contract and available to speak to teams as of next year and things like that. But the Penrith really need to sign him for the amount of money he's going to be asking for. I've heard Penrith will be signing for about 800,000, 900,000, and I don't think you need that. I think Nathan Cleary just needs the reins of the team and give him a youngster as a 5'8" and let him go. Like, they've got Edwards there. Mitch Kenny will be better for the experience. He needs to be one of those experienced hookers from next year. And I don't think there's a need for Luai at Penrith. Like, I know he's sort of Penrith heart and soul. He's been there as a kid and that's in his DNA, but I just don't think Luai is needed. He's surplus to requirements at Penrith.
Do you think Cogger signing with the Knights kind of shows what's already going to happen? Because I don't think they'd probably let him go so easily if they thought that they were about to lose their star 5'8". So though they are offering him only 8s or rumoured 8s, 9s, I don't know. I don't think I see him leaving Penrith.
Let's not forget they also let go of O'Sullivan at the start of the year as well. So let go of O'Sullivan, obviously, to the Dolphins. They've now let go of Cogger to the Knights, which, look, I don't think anyone really saw in Cogger play. Anyone really thought we'd see Cogger play the role he did until, obviously, the way he did. But at the end of the day, this Penrith team, if you look at last year, what they win, they won the SG Ball, the Jersey Flag, the New South Wales Cup, and obviously the NRL. So they've obviously got good young players coming through. So obviously they can afford to take the risk and let go of players. Personally, I wouldn't be signing Lou on the money. As you will touch on, I don't think they need him. I think Cleary can play that role. And I think I touched on this weeks ago at multiple teams. You don't need 2-star halves in your team anymore. You need one good one that can control one and one that can play their role. If I was Penrith, if they haven't got someone coming through and I had a Nathan Cleary there, I'd be looking at someone like a Dijon Arcee maybe, or a Jack Cogger. I know they go off Cogger, but miracles can happen. They can get him back. Someone who isn't quite a superstar first grader, but can get the job done, obviously playing with a superstar first grader. So there's plenty of options there. But as for Luai, look, I think the Dogs can offer him a hotel. There's no doubt about that. But I don't know where he's going to go and be able to control the team. I don't know what team he's going to be able to go to, because if you look at all the teams around, probably the best fit for him would be somewhere like Cronulla, where he can be the controlling half, and he can play halfback and obviously let Hines play 5'8". But I can't really think where else he could go or where fans would welcome him as well.
No, me either. It's maybe the Raiders. The Raiders probably need someone there with Fogarty. So. But I don't see him going from Penrith
to go to the nation's capital, no.
No,
Let's be honest.
That's a hard sell.
If Luai comes to your club, it reminds me of Chris Sandow. I hated Chris Sandow, but when Chris Sandow came to Parramatta, I loved him. I don't want him at Parramatta, and there's no chance he'll come to Parramatta. But if he does come to your club, you'd probably enjoy his shit and his smugness. So
it's like Tyson Gamble.
Gee, man, it's not necessarily chinks. It's not chinks in their side as much. It's just that it's a business these days. You got to allow money. Like they need to get a strike centre for mine. They're going to be without Crichton next year, who I thought was one of the best players in the grand final. Once you take away the two playmakers for me, the side who stood out. So I think Crichton's a massive hole for Penrith next year. I think a lot of people have
coming back. I remember. I know he's a winger, but he can play centre.
Yeah, but he's not a Crichton though.
Crichton's special. You wouldn't put him in the same caliber.
Crichton's special.
Not yet, but
Crichton has helped him so much.
Yeah.
You're also forgetting that Crichton was one of the worst defensive centres ever 2 years ago.
Yep.
So, so was Bradman Best. Players evolve their game when they're given opportunities. They could pick up Bailey Simonson, for example, and turn him into a gun. You don't know who they could pick up. Like, players are going to be going cheap. There's so much focus around spending money on halves that there's, a lot of these backs that are cusp first-grade players now that are going to be floating around looking for clubs soon.
He's a big signing for the Bulldogs now, Crichton. I don't know where to put him. I don't know if he's a fullback still, but they don't have anyone to give him the ball like Cleary could do. So interesting. But let's one final thing on the grand final. Just a special mention. We're going to go into quickly a bit of international footy stuff. I know Jez is ready to go on about the international side, so we'll let him have a bit of a Jez bombshell moment. Adam G, I just wanted a special shout out to a great officiated NRL grand final. I thought he was sensational, and a lot of people said out there is the Stephen Bradbury ended up with the others losing out and falling over with key decisions made. But I actually thought Adam G's season overall, he's probably been the best referee from start to finish and the most consistent as well. I know a lot of people are talking about the fact that the game wasn't reffed like a normal game, but it's a showpiece event. Like, I had no dramas with the way it was reffed. I actually prefer the games to be reffed that way. Less penalties, let that little 50-50 stuff, just let it go. Just get up, play the ball. There's a small shoulder that's just touched the chin or something, just let it go. Like, I don't need to stop time everything. And special shout out to Adam G. So Adam, well done on your reffing. Actually, no, it wasn't. You're not Adam G. You're the other one. But how did you think of Adam G's performance?
It's good. We're not talking about it.
Yeah.
There's no controversy to come from that game. So we're not hung up on any decisions that could have changed the outcome of the game. So I thought he did a great job, and the officials, they let it go. It just flowed. It was just nice seeing rugby league being played and allowed to. I kind of like what Adam is, not Adam, your brother, what Michael's kind of asking there is the way that he officiated that game. Is that going to... But it's like with Origin. Like, they let things go in Origin as well, and they let the game flow in a sense. But then you go back to Clubland and they pull up every tiny little penalty, and we get frustrated at it. So, I don't know. We could bang on about referees, but it's nice that we don't have to from this grand final.
Yeah, I think it's nice.
I personally believe it's been touched on. Look, there was things in that first half that probably should have been called up, mostly against Brisbane. I thought Penrith slowed the ruck down a lot. But he was consistent with that in the second half when Brisbane got on top. They got on top. They obviously took into half-time what was happening to them and obviously went out and slowed the Penrith ruck down. The problem I have now is the standard's been set and the standard won't be backed up, next year. Because that's the way footy should be reffed. We should just let it flow. Instead, we look like some referees look like they're trying to find penalties, absolutely everything to make the game about them. So as Jeremy said, it was good we weren't talking about a referee, but there was a couple of key moments I thought he missed. It wasn't perfect, but the fact that it was such an entertaining game, I think it kind of takes away from that. I'll touch on the Cobbo one. The Cobbo one, he's missed that. He clearly gets taken out. There was a touch judge right there and obviously a bunker that could have stepped in. I like there was a couple of times when players laid down, the bunker did step in. He ignored it because he'd set that consistency. And he didn't want the game. I know you'd hate this, but Jeremy will obviously watch it. The Collingwood GWS game, the whistle went away for the last 5 minutes in that game. In the rugby league, the whistle was away all night. He only penalised what he really had to.
I watched it. You'll be proud of me. I actually sat through it. I sat through it.
Joel was sitting there going, what's happening?
I'm not talking about the grand final. I'm talking about the prelim.
No, this is the
Oh yeah,
prelim.
no, I watched the grand final. I said there was a lot of knock-ons in this game,
Offside.
but the referee's letting a lot go in this game.
They had Kiss, I remember.
Yeah, no, they had Kiss. You know, let's quickly on that. I actually didn't think that was too bad. The musical, the Tina thing.
Yeah.
I actually got.
I didn't
I
watch
got
it.
into it personally. I liked it. So good on you, Tina. The musical. Bring it back next year. I say. Let's just get into the musical side of things. Who cares? Next year, let's just get, I don't know, Singing in the Rain on or whatever.
Book of Mormon would be funny.
The floor is yours. Let's talk about some international footy. It's coming up. We might do a podcast probably 2 or 3 weeks time to talk about that side of things. But
yeah, before we get into it, I liked when Luai went off in the grand final. Fox Sports was so quick to get something up on socials that they said Luai withdrawn with fatigue. And it made me laugh out loud. And then they quickly removed that when they found out it was his shoulder that was giving him troubles. But that was the first thing that they put up, was like, breaking, Luai removed from field with fatigue. I just thought that was brilliant. This Aussie side, what is going on? Like, this is, again, I believe this is the NRL or whoever is the governing body of this, just showing that they don't have the balls to make a big decision. We have the fullback is a talking point. So we have 3 fullbacks that are ahead of Tedesco that aren't even in the squad. I don't know what Ponga's doing. If Reece Walsh has asked for time off because he wants to go and celebrate the loss. Dylan Edwards, maybe he's buggered from running 300 plus meters in a grand final, but how are those guys not even in the squad? Then we have guys that are posting alleged bags of drugs on their own social medias. They get in trouble for doing that, but they still get given an Aussie jersey. Then we have Addo Carr, who's at the Curry Knockout, which is something that is held in respects of many Indigenous and non-Indigenous people to go and watch this great. When NRL players come and play this, it's spectacular, but he starts an all-in brawl. Smacks a bloke, like he must have got hit high or something. I don't know the full context, but I've seen the video of him punching a bloke in the face and then an all-in brawl happening and possible charges that are going to be laid there. But let's give him an Aussie jersey. Let's cancel out the fact that he had a pretty average season as well. There's just a couple of question marks around some of the players that are in there. And then even with the girls. So we have, this is going to sound biased because I'm a Knights supporter, but we have Jessie Southwell, who is probably the best halfback in the game at the moment. She's young. She's only just turned 18, but she's not even in the squad. They've gone with Brigginshaw and with, who's the Titans half? Brown. Like, how do you not have these young players in this squad ready to go to get some experience? It baffles me. Adam, can you shed some light? Do you know anything about this? What's going on?
I'm done with footy for the year. I've had enough. I barely looked at the team. I've seen there's a few other boys. I couldn't believe that Walsh wasn't big, was he?
No,
Walsh
not even in the squad. Bradman Best was interviewed at the Curry Knockout, and he was under the impression that he was in the squad because he answered with, yep, I'm going away with the Kangaroos. I'm in the squad. Squad gets announced. He's not there. So I just...
Honestly, I've looked at the team. I don't care about Australia anymore. I don't care about Australian Rugby League. And I haven't for a while. Like, I probably haven't since it was that Queensland dominated team for so long. And there was just no New South Wales players there. And he's right. It is Mel picking his mates. Like, it's honestly what it's become. It's become like the New South Wales Blues. It's like Freddie picking his mates. Now it's Mel picking his mates. Look, Tedesco shouldn't be there. I should look to the future in Walsh or Ponga. Ponga wins a Dally M, can't get picked. Shouldn't have won the Dally M. That's a whole nother story for another time. I actually find more interest looking at these other teams, like the Samoan teams and the Fijian teams and all this kind of stuff and what they can produce now.
They're exciting, but where do you sit on the disciplinary sides? Like with the Addo Carr incident and with the Valentine Holmes getting picked. Like,
what I'm hearing is Addo Carr. There might be more things coming out of the Addo Carr one from the weekend. I've just sent you guys a video that shows it a bit better. I'm not afraid if Joel wants to share it on here, but look, it's posted on another Facebook site, so it shows.
I'll put it on the page after the video.
Yeah, it shows what happened, obviously, and there could be a lot more to that one because it has been classified as a king hit, essentially.
I was going to say I have heard the rumor about the king hit. So,
well, if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm happy.
We shouldn't call it a king hit. We should call it a coward punch, by the way, because I think it's one of the lowest things you can do.
The Valentine Holmes one, I'm I'm happy if I'm a Cowboys fan because he gets to serve his 1 game suspension there. But look, even a 1 game suspension for that, like
Soft.
they pick and choose who they want. Corey Norman was costed Dally M in 2016 for having some tablets in his pocket. There's no proof he even took those tablets. There's no proof he was planning on taking those tablets. I know we don't have the proof of Corey Norman. He was suspended for 8 games and was costed Dally M and cost Adam $3,350. That's a whole other story. All right, I'm still bitter. But they've set a standard there of 8 games. Now, I know Valentine Hayes is pretty clean. He's had a pretty clean record, but he's come out and admit he fucked up and he's made a mistake. But still to pick him, like, why not give someone like Bradman Best? It means fuck all anyway. It does. It means nothing these games. It's not a World Cup. No. And even, it means nothing. It's literally a glorified friendly, to be honest. Australia are going to absolutely pass him anyway because Samoa no chance because obviously Luai's out, and they have no halves. If you've seen their team, it's just backs and forwards. They have 0 halves. And as for, I haven't seen the New Zealand team. Has the New Zealand team been announced yet?
No, yeah, it has. I saw a squad. It was a couple of days ago. It's just a squad.
Phoenix Crossland in there. He deserves it.
Is he even a Kiwi?
Fairly sure he is.
I haven't checked.
I hope they beat him. He won't be there because Brendan Smith will be there, and you think someone else will be there. But I hope New Zealand beat him. That's all I do.
I just think they've missed a trick here.
I've
got 2 people that have brought the game into disrepute, and we're awarding them with what essentially is the highest honour of an Australian jersey.
Let's talk about that word disrepute because I feel like the NRL uses it whenever they feel like it. It's not something like the incidents we're talking about now. For mine, are bringing the game into disrepute, and it deserves harsher punishments than what they've gotten. Like the fact that they've done this, and then a month's time they're able to go and represent Australia, which is supposedly the highest honour in the game, is which we keep trying to get sold, which we all know it's state of origin, but that's a different story. That's absolutely disgraceful for mine. Like, what's that setting like? And for the Australian selectors, they should be telling these guys, sorry, but you've brought the game into disrepute. We don't want you representing the Kangaroos. It means too much to the people of Australia to have that jersey on, knowing what you guys have done in the off season. I don't like with this competition that's going to be run. No one understands what's going on with it still. The point system is ridiculous. There's cups, there's plates, there's whoever knows what's going on. But for mine, if I'm an Australian fan, I wanted to see younger players in this. I wanted to see your Bradman Best. So I wanted to see some younger playmakers in it. Like Daly Cherry Evans has had a great year, no doubt about that. But he's on the end of his career. I don't think half of these players will be in the World Cup team that's in the next couple of years. Like, it's just, what's the point of having these people in? Let's be honest about it. It's pretty much a nothing competition. Like, I'd rather see one of the island nations take this out and help build the island nations for the World Cup and things like that and get the players playing for them. We don't need to have Australia full strength here. We don't need to have these players who should be sitting down with a disciplinary action playing for the Kangaroos and making them stronger. So, yeah, I'm with Adam.
It sets a really shocking standard. So it allows people like Reece Walsh to gob off to fans and get away with it. Like, if you want the NRL to be respected.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that one. Hang on. Yeah.
No. You're still representing. No, you need to be better. You're a professional footballer.
No, you are kids. I'm going to give some background to this. I'm in a Penrith Panthers, a couple of Penrith Panthers.
I'm off here. I've left.
Oh, he's gone.
I'm in a Penrith Panthers group, right? And there's a lot more to that video than what was seen because it was posted, then it was
rise edited. Above.
It was
be
edited.
A robot.
This kid, and I went back and watched some of the other stuff. He mouths off at a lot of players. He obviously caused a lot of shit, and he was there causing a lot of problems with these videos for his TikTok purposes. So I'm not saying Reece should have bit back, but I'm all for him having some kind of comeback at this kid who was just being a complete and total smartass. And the fact that when it was posted in the group, no one gave a shit about what was said. They're all on there. All the Panthers fans are on there saying, let's report this. Let's make sure Reece doesn't play this week. Let's make sure he's left out of the game. Let's make sure the NRL suspend him. Share it around. They're all on there trying to share it around to get Reece Walsh in trouble. Having to go back at a kid that was being a little smartass. Like, I know the kid was young and dumb, but let's not forget that Reece Walsh is pretty young as well.
That's what I'm
Apparently, it was in an
saying.
area you weren't supposed to be
If
either.
you want these people to be role models, if you want them to step up, you've got to set the premise by awarding rep jerseys to people who are really stuffing up. It's a slippery slope.
But there'll be more in the off season. Let's see the standard set now. I can guarantee you that one more player in the off season will get done with some kind of drug, or
it's the NRL, of course.
Get done for a bar fight or something. You watch what happens, and I'm trying to be very careful what I say here, but I think the environment that Addo Carr did it in, and what he was trying to be there to achieve, not there for the money that that he was getting paid, obviously. Because there's obviously a lot of money in the knockout these days. He was there obviously to represent where he's from, but nothing to do with the money. But what he was there for, I think, has saved him a bit, obviously, in this situation. If he did that on the street, he'd be fucked. There's no doubt about that. But the fact he's obviously done it.
Think about that.
Hey?
The NRL shouldn't have that in their consideration. If it's ended up being what a lot of people are starting to say the footage shows, he needs to be, honestly, he could have the book thrown at him because... I'm just saying, if that was at a street, he could be seriously looking at time behind bars for quite some time.
Do you remember the Tamanatahu one? I know Jeremy remember. Remember the Tamanatahu one at the knockout? Mm-hmm. Like, he racially abused another Aboriginal kid. And it was a kid. It was a 17-year-old at that knockout. And he was throwing the book at him, but he was never suspended for it. It was just everywhere in the media doing the wrong thing and all this kind of stuff. So, look, yeah.
It's just a shame that it happened there. Like, with what that tournament is supposed to represent and the community spirit it's supposed to do and bring all those nations together, it just sucks that it was an NRL player, a current NRL player, that did that.
Yeah. We'll move on. I mean, it's interesting. I know where Jez is coming from. I agree with the fact that Val Holmes shouldn't be in the squad at all, even if it's to serve a 1-game suspension. And I don't think Josh Addo-Carr should be in it's just purely off form, to be honest with you, because he's been horrible all year. And he doesn't deserve to be in. There's a lot better younger players that should be there ahead of him. But anyway, as I think Mika said earlier, it's Mal picking his favourites. It's the selectors. They're too old for mine. They need to update themselves and get some of these young players in. We've seen the teams this year that have done well, like Penrith and the Broncos, are full of these young stars coming through. Let them play. They want to play footy. They're hungry. Let them go with it and let them run. And but I disagree with Jez with the kid. I think that was nothing. I think the players have to stand up for themselves at some point. It's like you can't sit there and
who doesn't love your mum joke? Really, like, everyone loves
you can't sit there and cop
me. It was offensive.
I love how the family went and complained about it. FYI, like, put your kid on a leash and control him. Don't go complain to NRL about it.
Yes, I think we can all agree that it was very minimal, but I think you can try and see what I'm trying to underpin here with the NRL going soft on some quite big issues.
Okay,
yeah,
let's go on that. The next year's NRL face of the game is always the Dally M winner. So next year's face of the game is a bloke that was caught in a cubicle with another guy. We all know what he was doing, but he could never admit it.
He was celebrating a house purchase.
Is that a good role model?
No, but this is it. It's the exact same point. I'm not disagreeing with you here. I don't care who the player is. I'm not disagreeing with that. If anything, you've backed up my point. The NRL should have come down harder.
They should have. They just let it slide because he never admits. They just plead the fifth. Never admit to what you did.
I was buying a house.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's all we've got time for. What I'll do.
I exchanged on my house today, so if anyone wants to go to the Dell on the weekend, I'll be there. Just celebrating the house.
Yeah, take the nice girls with you. They'll be partying hard. So Jez is
still
ready
are.
to
They're still going.
Celebrate back to Liv. Special shout out if you are watching. Well done. Good win. Get her back on the show in the off season, guys. Get some premiership winners on. So be fantastic.
Knights need to sign her again because she's off contract.
Oh, look out. Go to the Eels. Thank you. That's all we've got time for. That's our review grand final on a couple of talking points in there. With the Addo-Carr thing, what Adam has set through, I'll look at it, and if I deem it appropriate, I'll upload it to the page within the next probably 5 minutes. So if you don't know what we're talking about with that, especially Luke there, just go onto the page in about 5 minutes or so. I'll upload it. So thank you once again. Massive season. Just want to say thanks to everyone who's been involved with the shows, watching it, the content, listening to the podcast, whatever it is. thank you very much. If you want to support the page a bit further, go ahead and buy one of the hats, either white or navy blue as well. Really appreciate it. It goes a long way to helping us improve. Not saying goodbye. We won't go anywhere. We'll have the content still coming out. The videos will probably stepping back. As I said, probably the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll do that international special on it. And basically, that's sort of it. Any sort of big news comes out, we'll jump on maybe and do little quick ones and just little podcasts and videos as well. So keep an eye out for those. We'll have Jesse on with the Supercoach stuff as well in the off season. So if you're a Supercoach player, there'll be a lot more Supercoach news over the off season, and players look out for and buy early on when it does get released as well. But Adam, Jez, thank you for jumping on this year as well. We'll keep going, get bigger and better. Jez, I know, has got some massive plans for the audio side of things and the visual side of things to come. Thanks, Jez.
I can't
you're
wait.
Right, mate. Adam?
I just can't wait for our first crisis live. Like, we're going to have, when the NRL's in crisis, when something's gone wrong, we're going to jump straight on. We're going to be like 9 News. We're going to be like, we're just going to be straight on. We're going to be here. It's going to be like 24-hour coverage till we break down what happened. So for those who want to wake up and watch Cheese TV, it won't be on because we'll be on. And, it's just all going to happen as soon as someone does something stupid. So how many days are we going now? When's the last time the NRL player did something stupid? Jamin Simmons stripping naked in the sheds and had the full tackle out there on Sunday night. So that's all we've really got. So we're about 2 days in. Smart by Penrith, obviously, to take the microphone off the players as well at the thing the next day after last year's incident. So, look, they've obviously saved us going only 1 day there. But
it was nice of them to invite Api Coruscant to the celebrations.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I've seen that. Everyone's a bit up in arms about that as well. So, hey, we've got to sign off here, guys. Stop creating talking points.
Sorry, Joe, I didn't realize you threw it over to me because I was distracted. It's YOU''RE. Anyway, that's all from me. Thank you for the season. We'll be back.
We'll see you. Well done.